Hey everyone, welcome to class. Today we will be talking about color. For the past several weeks, we have been limiting ourselves to using just a pencil to remove complications and really focus on the basic elements of art. Now that we have that good foundation, we're ready to add the element of color. Some people think that color choice in art is random. Some people think that using as much color as possible automatically makes a piece look good. And some people think that color is just subjective. But color is not random or arbitrary or purely subjective. Just like there are theories in music to help make sense of things, there's a science to how colors react with each other and visually interact with each other. There's also skill involved in creating color combinations that are pleasing to the eye. This is where color theory comes in. Color theory is a set of principles regarding the use of color in visual arts. Color theory is another huge topic that contains many categories and concepts and has different applications for different mediums and their unique properties. For today, we'll stick to the most fundamental and helpful aspects of color theory that you can practically utilize in your own art. There's no exercise for today's lesson, but I encourage you to take notes, since this lesson will set the stage for the rest of the Foundation series. Later in this video, we'll talk about mixing colors. You'll get the best results using mediums that you can actually mix together, like acrylic or watercolor paint. Keep in mind, it won't work so well with mediums that get layered instead of combined, like color pencil or pastel. We will be talking about these mediums in the next episodes. For now, you can try mixing colors with whatever you have. So let's get started. Understanding the fundamentals of color theory starts with the color wheel. A color wheel is a diagram that organizes colors around a circle to show relationships between colors. By seeing and understanding how colors are related to each other, we will be able to understand how to create colors and how to develop pleasant and purposeful combinations of colors to use in our artwork. First, let's talk about how to use the color wheel to create colors. Now, there are different kinds of color wheels and other diagrams out there, but for today's lesson, we will be sticking to the traditional artist color wheel that utilizes red, yellow, and blue as primary colors. Primary colors are a set of colors from which all other colors may be derived. They can't be formed from other colors, but theoretically, they can be mixed together to produce all other colors. I say theoretically because humans can only perceive about 2.5 million colors. That's a lot, but it's not infinite. We're also limited by the range of whatever medium we're using. Different mediums have different properties and can only produce certain effects. So keep in mind that the color wheel itself provides a general guideline, and once mastered, can aid you in producing a huge range of colors. Between the primary colors are secondary colors. Secondary colors are formed by mixing two primary colors together. Red and yellow mix together to create orange, yellow and blue make green, and blue and red make purple. So you can start to see how the color wheel indicates how to create basic colors. Between each primary color and secondary color is a tertiary color. A tertiary color is formed by mixing a primary color with a secondary color next to it on the color wheel. Tertiaries are like subtle steps between colors, like blue-green and blue-purple, or yellow-orange and red-orange. You can also make tertiaries using just primary colors, because secondary colors are also made of primary colors. It just depends on the amount of each color that you use. Let's take yellow-green for example. Yellow-green has both yellow and blue in it, because green is a secondary color that is made from yellow and blue. It is right next to yellow on the color wheel and far from blue, which means that it contains a lot more yellow than it does blue. So if you are trying to make this color, you would need a lot more yellow and probably just a bit of blue to make the yellow turn yellow-green. Of course, if you already have a green pigment, you could just mix it with yellow to make yellow-green. But using blue and yellow could produce the same results. Because remember, you can theoretically mix all the colors using just the primaries. Mixing colors is both a logical and intuitive skill that takes a lot of experience to master. After we fully understand how to mix primary, secondary, and tertiary colors, we can start creating more complex colors. We can mix colors that aren't next to each other on the color wheel. We can lighten or darken the values of colors. We can mix more than two colors together, and that's when we start getting a huge range of complex colors that go way beyond our color wheel. But it all starts with our primary colors. Red, yellow, and blue, plus black and white to produce different values, can get you very far. Now that we have all the elements of our color wheel, let's talk about using the color wheel to help us identify some color schemes that can make our artwork look more aesthetically pleasing. A color scheme is a particular combination of colors. When there's a huge range of colors to choose from, creating a color scheme is a helpful way to narrow down and focus on colors that support what we want to evoke in our artwork. Working without a color scheme in mind could lead to imbalanced or clashing colors, or an important element of your image losing its visibility instead of being emphasized. There are several different color schemes and plenty of variations of color schemes, but let's focus on 3 foundational ones. The first is the monochromatic color scheme. Monochromatic means one color. Monochromatic color schemes are limited to a single base color and its values. To create different values in the image, you can mix black and white to the base color. Having a range of values in an image helps create contrast and interest, even when you're restricted to one color. Working with a monochromatic color scheme can make an image feel cohesive and can communicate a certain mood or other message through its color. Second is the analogous color scheme. Analogous colors are colors that are next to one another on the color wheel. Since they're all close together on the color wheel, they are similar to one another, but create a look that is harmonious and slightly more complex than a monochromatic scheme. You can find a lot of analogous colors in nature. Whereas the color wheel depicts vivid, pure colors, there are a lot of subtleties, transitions, and slight variations in the colors of natural phenomena. Third is the complementary color scheme. Complementary colors are colors that are opposite one another on the color wheel. When placed next to each other in an image, they create the strongest contrast because they're the most different from each other. Complementary colors make each other look more vivid and can create a striking image, but can also be tiring on the eyes when overused. When complementary colors are mixed together, they cancel each other out by producing a grayish color. So adding small amounts of a complementary color can help to gradually neutralize a color that is too intense for your liking. A very helpful strategy to use in our artwork is to utilize accent colors, which are colors that are used for emphasis or contrast. Just like in music, a well-placed accent can help create interest, break up monotony, and create balance in a piece. It can also be strategically used to draw the audience's attention to whatever you as the artist want to emphasize. A good example of utilizing an accent color would be to create an image using analogous colors in the background and use a complementary color as the accent in the foreground. Applying different color schemes to the same artwork can completely change its aesthetics. Even redistributing the colors of one color scheme to different areas of an image can affect its overall appearance. If you're not sure which scheme or set of colors you want to use, you can test different schemes before adding color to your actual image. You can do this by creating small, simplified thumbnails of your image, loosely coloring them, and comparing them to see which one you like best. It's a quick and easy way of testing and figuring out different colors without risking messing up your actual artwork. This is a very helpful step for artists of all levels of experience to take, and I highly encourage you to try it. As I mentioned at the beginning of this episode, color selection and creation in art is not random or arbitrary or purely subjective. But most people do see color as a means of expression and freedom, and they might not be too thrilled at the idea of color having rules. In case you might be feeling limited by these concepts, I want to assure you that learning color theory isn't meant to hold artists back or stifle creativity. Understanding the theories of color is meant to empower you in your creative process. Knowing how colors react with one another when mixed and relate to one another on the color wheel helps us to create more interesting and complex colors. Knowing how to select just the right colors for an image and arrange them in a compelling way helps us to convey a particular aesthetic or message that we want to get across more effectively. As with many things, the more we learn about the rules and guidelines of color theory, the more we can utilize them to express ourselves fully and freely. So keep learning, keep exploring, and I'll see you in the next class.